will just discuss here, right? So initially today we start with this variables, data types, Python introduction basically. Then you will learn about operators, right? Then you will learn about if else, elif, very basic things we will do. For loop is there, right? Break, continue, pass, functions like recursion, normal function, lambda, variable length arguments, right? Some functions like map, filter, reduce, these are very useful function when you work on big data. Spark, PySpark. So PySpark is a very essential skill. So if possible, after Python we can also do one session on PySpark, 1 or 2 session, because it is very mandatory skill set. All right, then we'll see string, list, tuple, dictionary, set, frozen set, comprehensions, file handling. File handling means reading a txt file, reading an image file, reading a CSV file. All this is called file handling, reading a file and processing it, right? Object oriented programming. Okay, maybe some issue with this spelling, polymorph, no. Okay, so oops, why it is important? As I told you, today I got a job interview call, right? So they asked me, how good are you in Python? Do you know oops? You know why? All the people who try to create their solution, they try to write code in classes, right? We generally write code in very simple form, right, on IDE, but they want to write code into oops format, into form of classes and functions, classes and methods, right? Class and their methods. So this is a standard practice. You should know how to create class. So I was checking for one interview on YouTube. In that interview process, they asked one question of oops. In that they were saying you can create a class of library will have books, right? So books, members, so they were creating classes of that, right? So you should know how to create class, methods, their constructor, how to call those methods, inheritance, polymorphism, okay, abstract classes. You should know about all these things, right? So you should know oops. Oops is mandatory. Second is exception handling. Most of the time lots of error occurs, so you should also know the exception handling. And then we'll see modules and packages. Okay, so this is core Python that we try to finish in upcoming 3-4 weeks, and then we'll move to the advanced Python. In advanced Python we will focus on iterator, decorator, generator, and collection modules like counter, default dict, order dict. Generally dictionary is not ordered, but here it will follow the order. In certain cases, certain logic, you need this order dictionary. For example, JSON file format or API JSON. At certain places I have used this one, right? Multi-threading I have not used, but there is one module, joblib. Using joblib module we do the multi-threading, or you can say multiple processes we will execute simultaneously, right? So that is for that you need to understand how multi-threading works. So that is important, because nowadays if data is increasing, when data size is huge and your server capacity is very limited, then what will you do? You try to optimize that, right, using some multi-threading. Okay, we will also do database connectivity with MySQL, SQLite, Postgres. That we will also do. See, we can also do this connectivity with MongoDB, right? We will also do with MongoDB, don't worry. And MongoDB, right? And capital MongoDB, right? Then we will jump to this data analysis part. NumPy, pandas, data visualization, right? Or you are from any field. Maybe you are from electronics, maybe you are from some other psychology field or economics field. At the end of the day, you have to do data analysis. So you should know one tool, maybe Excel, maybe SPSS, maybe anything. But if you know Python, it will give you an edge. How it will give you an edge? If you see lots of people nowadays doing PhDs, but after PhDs they were shifting to industry, right? So if you know Python programming, it is easy for you to make transition into IT industry, because in India we captures world 60% IT market, right? So, and then we will see this fast API, how to create APIs, Streamlit, introduction to Flask, right? And if required, this is not mandatory, but if required, if we will have time, we can do 1 or 2 session on it, right? So that is what the we will do with the core and advanced Python. Okay, let's start the journey. If you have anything, you can ask. My screen is visible, audible properly. Is there any issue?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Let me share this. Let me do slideshow. Right. Okay. I'm using this OneDrive. Right. The reason is I can't run MS Word or PowerPoint on this because it's Ubuntu machine. Ubuntu means it's a Linux machine. So if you, so you can also use this OneDrive or Google Slide, right? So OneDrive gives you 5 GB of space and Google will give you 15 GB of space. So I'm using that. This is, you can see this is OneDrive, right? Okay. Let me share my screen. Let me do the slideshow from beginning, right? Okay. So I have given this name Python for analytics. The reason is we are going to be data scientists, data analysts, right? So we should start with the basic Python and then we'll move to the advanced Python. In that we will learn how to do analytics. So ultimate agenda of this Python is not learning the programming. Of course, we start with the programming, but slowly you will shift your gears towards data analytics. That is important because ultimately if you are learning a tool, you should know how you are going to use it. Python can be used in web application, we can also use in IoT, we can also use in image processing, but we are focusing on data analytics, core data analytics. That is what our objective is, right? So that is why I given this name Python for analytics, right? Great. So as I told you in this course, we have just a second. As I told you in this course, our objective is very clear, right? We understand the Python fundamentals, all those that I explained, then advanced Python topics, iterator, decorator, generator and connectivity, then NumPy pandas, then matplotlib, Seaborn, then fast API, Streamlit, Flask, or maybe introduction to Django, right? These 4 or 5 things we have in our hand. So these 2 points are basically related to data analytics, right? This is your basic, right? Okay, and then we will understand about the web part, bit of web part too, so that you can create your API or you can create a web page if required. That's it. Okay, great. Let's move to, okay, another thing. Yeah, okay, discuss this at point I want to discuss. Now the question is, some people ask why Python. So Python also introduced in high school, in US high school and even CBSE also, right? So you can learn Python because Python is very easiest programming language. So anyone can learn. So it is not about from which background you are. So don't worry if you don't know C, C++, Java. If you are first time learning, no problem. No problem at all. If you are from economics background or arts background or commerce background, it doesn't matter. You can learn this. Just you need some efforts. That's it and nothing else. It is world's easiest programming language. Easiest. Right? Okay. Python is a high level programming language. If you see assembly, so if you see we have hardware, right? We have hardware machine, right? Your CPU or you can say CPU, right? On this we write code in assembly. It understands assembly programming, right? On assembly program we will try to run C or C++, right? And C is a middle level language, and after that we have high level language like C, C++, Java, Python. So Python is high level programming language. Now what you can do with Python? Of course you can become data analyst, data scientist, also a programmer. You can also become a Django developer, which is a web developer. right? Okay, you can also become a NLP engineer, Gen AI, which is has huge demand into the market. Apart from this, you can also use an IoT. First thing, one of my student who was a cyber security expert, and he was learning Python. You know why? For writing scripting, right? So sorry, cyber security expert, right? So in cyber security also you need this. Okay, so it is not only this one. Of course, you can also use in computer vision, image analysis, right? So at lots of places you can use Python. Apart from this, I told you statistics, right? Operation research, OR, pure mathematical work you can also do. Pure mathematical work, right? Just like you use MATLAB, right? Some people have used MATLAB in their college. So you can use all the MATLAB kind of operation into Python also, right? So Python offers you everything from web to data analysis to NLP to Gen AI, everything. Okay, so Python, learning Python is a plus point. I will show you other reasons also, right? Okay, so what is Python? Is it a snack or something else? It is a programming language, right? So Python is also a snack, right? So how did Python get its name? So the creator of Python given name Python from this. There is a show, Monty Python show, right? In India we watch Tarak Mehta Ka Ulta Chashma, right? If I created one language, I have given it name Chashma, right? Similarly, he was at in 1970s. He liked this show, Monty Python. From that, he picked that Python and given its name, right? So Python got its name from a television show, which is Monty Python. That is why its name is Python. So who invented it? Guido van Rossum. I will show you his name later, but you can see this. This is the latest index report. This index published the details of which programming language is in demand. If you see in 2024, Python was on top and still it is on top. Alright. If you see after that, the second number is C++, third is Java, C, C Sharp, JavaScript. Go is getting very much popularity. If you see, this time it is on 7, previously it was on 11. SQL is also important, right? Visual Basic, Fortran, Delphi basically this Haskell programming language, right? Scratch, PHP still has good scope, right? Rust is gaining so much popularity. If you see, from 19 it reached to 40th rank. MATLAB, right? And Ruby also, right? So these are the programming language which are in highly demand. So you can see Python, Java, C++ also, but in India most of the job we see in Java, Python, C Sharp especially your .NET C Sharp, and in JavaScript we have Node.js, React and all these things, right? Okay, great. So this is another reason why we are learning Python. One more thing, if you see jobs, not jobs, this is what, yeah, top 10 programming languages on GitHub over the years, if you see, right? So in a top 10 programming language, first one is your JavaScript. If you see, this is with blue color, right? Second one is your HTML, and third one is your Python with green color, and then your Java with red color, right? So now the question is, why this JavaScript on top? Because most of the web application are using JavaScript, JS, right? Either React, Angular, right? Node. Okay, so if you see React, Node, these were used on front end, and Node.js is used on back end, right? Vue is also there, Vue script, TypeScript is also there. So these most of the languages are written in JavaScript, right? So most of the web applications are into this. Also, there's one more thing, React Native, which is used to build mobile application, right? So you can see JavaScript has much more popularity, and JavaScript is one of the very popular programming language, right? But from data science point of view, we should learn Python, right? Why I'm explaining you all these things? The reason is you should understand. It is not you should take decision on the basis of data, not on the basis of my recommendation, right? Okay. Python was started by or developed by Guido van Rossum. So he was working at National Research Institute for Mathematics and Computer Science, right, in Netherlands, right. At their research center, he developed this language, Python, in 1989, right. So they started around when Java came into the picture, but Java was much more popular, right. uh, Python was not, but Python in last 15 years, if you see, it is gaining the popularity because of the data science or data analytics, right. Now if you see, Python is a general purpose language. You can use from web to data analysis to IoT to computer vision to image analytics, everything, or also the NLP and all those things. It is a high level programming language, like as I told you, low level, middle level, high level. Low, middle and high. C is your middle level, and low level language is your assembly, right, and high level language is your all C++, you can say uh, Java, JavaScript, Python, all are high level programming language. High level means syntax are English kind of syntax, or the syntax which you understand. So the high level programming languages have English like syntax. English like. C also has English like syntax, but assembly is also here, but assembly, it is not that user friendly, right. So yeah, so high, middle, low. Okay, it is interpreted programming language. It interprets your code. It does not compile the code, it does interpretation, but later I will also show you, it also does some kind of compilation also. I will show you that also. But if anyone asks you, yeah, Python is interpreted, but it is not only interpreted, it also uses the compiler, right. It also uses the compiler, right, that I will show you later. But at higher level, it is considered as an interpreted language. It uses interpreter. It is interactive also, right. You can create your GUI application. Anyone can tell me the full form of GUI or full form of CUI?
Graphical.
Yeah, graphical user interface. Yeah, a graphic user interface. CUI is a character user interface, just like your CMD, command line, right. And GUI, it can be anything, web, it can be a window application, right. Of course, it is object oriented, and it is beginner's language. If you are a beginner, you don't know anything in programming, you should go with Python, right. Great. Let's move ahead. Okay, so Python 1.1, right, released in 1996, right, and Python 2.0 released in 2000, right, and Python 3 was introduced in 2008. Right now the latest version is in Jan 2024. The latest version is 3.13, but they have also released these 3.12, but this 1.2 is a stable version. This 1.3 is still not stable, so most of the people are using this one. So they released it, but it is not stable yet. They released in January 2021, no, 2025. It is wrong, right? 2025. And here it is released in December 2021. This is a stable version, right? Because when they release a version, they will get some issues into the bugs or issues and they resolve it, then that version will become much more stable, right? So Python 3.12 is a stable version. If you want to start with Python coding, you can use this version. All right. Okay. Let's move ahead. Now I'm comparing Python with Java. Why? Because lots of people are from engineering background and they generally start with Java, right? C, C++, Java, right? So Java is statically typed and Python is dynamically typed. For example, in Java you need to write int x, so you are specifying its data type. Here you can write simply x equals to 10, right? It will automatically understand that x is an integer. If you write x equals to 10.0, it will automatically understand it is a float value. So it is a dynamically typed, means on runtime it will decide what is its data type. Here you need to define integer, float, byte, right? You have to define. It requires define the type of each variable. That is what I was explaining. You need to define the type of each variable. No requirement here. Java is less productive compared to Python because it has so much, you have to write so many lines of code. Here it is more productive because you need to write very less number of code. You can see here hello world, right? I am writing a 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Here in Python I am writing only single line, right? So one more thing, Python uses indentation and Java uses this curly bracket, right? So this is a basic difference. I'm not going into the detail, but just want to give you a glimpse of it. Python code is always smaller compared to Java. So that is why if you are beginner, Python will be suitable for you, right? You can see this meme, right? This is a meme that you can see non-programmer, programmer, and this is Python programmers, right? Okay, so I hope you understand the what I'm trying to say is Python is very easy to learn, easy to code, right? If still you are not able to understand Python concepts, then you need to hard work on it, because Python is most easiest language, right? You can read this comments, right? I have got these comments from some website, right? Okay, Python has surpassed Java as a top language used introduced to United States students to programming. So it is used in high school, right? As I told you, right? And Python source code is very smaller compared to Java, right? So that is why these two are the complements for Python programming language, right? Now in Java we do some certification, right? Like OCJP, right? For AWS we do certification, AWS Cloud Practitioner, Solution Architect. So we have certification. For Python we don't have. Python, the inventor who created the Python, they were not issuing certificates. So if you do certificate from any of the place, it won't make sense. So there is no need to do certification in Python. Nobody asks. If you want to interested in certification, you can do certification on clouds like AWS, Azure. These certifications are in demand market. But after COVID, and if you see in last 4-5 years, certifications have no value. Ultimately, they will take your written test. You have to prove your coding skills into written test. So there is no point of doing certifications. But at some places, for some senior roles, they will ask for these certifications, right? Having certifications also add value, right? For example, one of my friend in 2011, he was fresher, he has that certification OCJP, and it helped him to get job into Siemens. There's a company named Siemens, right? So he got job there as a Java developer, right? So what I'm trying to say is certifications are also important at certain places, but for Python, certification has no importance. If you still want to do it, you can try Coursera, you can also try vskills.in, or you can try Orally Schools of technology, but there's no need to do. Nobody asks these certifications, right? Okay, that is what I'm trying to say, because lots of people ask me that I need certificate. There's no need of certificate, right? You have to show your projects, and you have to show your programming skills in your written test, especially in the industry. And in teaching also, you have to show your profile that you did research, you know Python, you have created these kind of projects. If you show them real things, they can hire, they will hire you. Don't worry about that, right? Again, installation, yeah, you can download Python from Python website, python.org, but right now you don't need to download it. We are not going to use any IDE. IDE means integrated development environment. For example, if you used C++, then most of the C++, right? C++. Most of the people use that Turbo C++, right? Turbo C or Turbo C++, right? And other coding IDE, right? Suppose someone is using Java, they use Eclipse, NetBeans, right? Eclipse, right? Eclipse and NetBeans. We are not using any IDE right now. The reason is I don't want to involve you into the installation and all these things. Forget about installation. I don't want you to do installation on your system. I don't want to disturb you. Just focus on coding and try to take interest in it. Once you are good enough, then we'll move to this installation part. Now the question is how we will do without installation. We will use Google Colab. If you have internet connection at your home, you can use Google Colab. There is no need to install, right? If you don't have internet connection, might be some people don't have, then they can use Anaconda. If you install Anaconda, there is one IDE into it, Jupyter Notebook. You can use that Jupyter Notebook, right? Initially you will use Jupyter Notebook or this Google Colab, right? Later, once you will be good in programming, then we'll go for this installation part. Then we'll focus on IDE. Like there are two IDE which are famous in Python. One is PyCharm, second one is VS Code. You can use both, but PyCharm has one limitation. When you work on client project, right? Client projects are generally on virtual machine, like for example AWS EC2, right? Or Azure VM. When you run your code on VM, not on your machine, suppose this is your machine, but you will run your code on server. So at that time you need remote SSH connection. Remote SSH connection that you can't do in PyCharm. For that you need a licensed version. You can't use the community version. You need a licensed version. So most of you are students, right? If you are learning here in free courses, then you don't have budget to purchase this license. So I recommend you focus on VS Code. Most of the people uses VS Code because it is open source, supported by Microsoft. It has extensions, lots of extensions. You can also do JavaScript coding and the other language coding also into this. So VS Code we will learn, don't worry. We will use VS Code. We will see how to use VS Code, because ultimately a production code is not going to be on Jupyter Notebook or Google Colab. Most of the cases it will be on VS Code if you work on real project. So you need to do data, you need to run machine learning algorithm or data manipulation code here on VS Code, right? So we will right now focus on Google Colab. No need to install. If you don't have internet, then you need to install Anaconda. Okay. So I hope everyone has internet connection, right? So you should use Google Colab, just like you use Google Docs or your Gmail. Simple. You don't need to install anything, right? Later, once we will absorb Python concept and we will have interest into it, then we will go for VS Code and all these things. Right now I'm not going into installation and anything else, right? Just focus on Google Colab, right? Just focus on Google Colab, just like your Gmail, just like your YouTube, right? It is a Google product, right? Okay, as I told you, PyCharm, VS Code, Anaconda is this, Jupyter Notebook, right? So these three IDs are mostly famous. Sublime Text is also there, but apart from this, nobody uses these. This NetBeans and Eclipse used by Java developer. I have not seen. One more is there, Atom. Atom IDE also there. You can also use Atom. In some of the Udemy courses or YouTube courses, they were using Atom. If you want, you can also use Atom. I will recommend you just use Anaconda and VS Code. That's it, enough. Don't go for any other. Just these two. And initially start with Google Colab. Don't worry about installation and all these things. You need to learn programming. Later we will shift here. Don't worry. You are not going anywhere, right? Google Colab. There is one competitor also. Google Colab competitor is Gradient. I have not used this, to be frank, but I was seeing some articles on internet, so that is why I added this name, Gradient. If you have interest, you can also try this, but I will recommend you Google Colab. Freely available, you can easily work, right? Okay, now it's time to do some coding, but before that, answer this question. Answer this question.
Guido van Rossum.
Good. Guido van. Okay. So who? Bill Gates, you know. Steve Jobs, you know. Who is this James Gosling? Who is this James Gosling?
Java that.
Java inventor, right? Correct. He developed Java, right? Bill Gates, you know, who founded Microsoft. Steve Jobs, Apple. Guido van Rossum is your Python inventor, right? Is an object-oriented programming language. It is a multiple choice question, right?
Yeah. C++ Python.
Also Java is also object-oriented.
Yes.
C++ is also object-oriented. Except C, everyone is object-oriented. C is not the object-oriented. Apart from this, these four are object-oriented. Okay. Let's move to another question. So, is a interpreted language?
Python.
Python, right? Okay. Assignment. What is this assignment? Yeah. So this is just an exercise. If you are interested, you can try to do this. Just try to find why you need to learn the programming. Just try to read some articles. Try to see why you learn programming, how it will change you, how it can change your thinking way, right? Just try to understand this. Also, try to find some applications of Python in which domain we can use. I have given you example like data science, web development, IoT, computer vision, okay, NLP. What else? What other domain you can use? Try to find those, right? Also see which are good blogs, right? Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups are available. You try to see them, because these groups on Twitter, LinkedIn, maybe on Facebook, maybe on Telegram, on those groups you will see lots of job or interview experience, right? You can see the job details. Also you will also see what new things are coming into the market. And one more important thing, right? There is one conference, PyCon, right? So PyCon is a conference which held every year, I think also in India also. So you can check this conference, or you can try to attend this conference, because this conference can give you this conference can be a way for the networking, right? You can do networking with some startup founders, some people who are working in Python, and those people who have some experience into it, right? So there are the chances you can get good network there, right? So PyCon is a conference, right, which is related to Python. It happens every year, I think, in Bangalore. I'm not sure, you can check on internet, but I think it's a good one. You should attend that. That's what I will recommend, right? Okay, 15 minutes are left, right? So let's start with now we will start with more things, right? Any doubt till now? Anything you want to ask? We have not done this. I will show you this one also. Okay, so you write welcome to free data science class, right? Okay, we will do this, don't worry, Hannah, don't worry, just be there, right? So now we are starting Python. I hope you got idea what Python, what we are trying to do. So you can see we have this is Google Colab, this is Google Colab symbol, CO Colab. How you can open this? You can open this via, right, let me show you. In your Google you can check this, right? Here you can check if you will find here. If not, you can see here YouTube, Gmail, Meet, Chat, Drive, everything is there. If you don't find it, you can just write Google. When I clicked on new notebook, I got this. I can also click on open Colab, right? So this is colab.research.google.com, right? Okay, you can create your new notebook, right? And this notebook will store on your drive, on a Google Drive, right? So if you create a new notebook, I have already created a new notebook with name of Python. Let me also show you how can you create. Just click on file, create new notebook. So it will create a new notebook here, right? It will take some time, right? But then it will start, then it won't bother you. And the one more advantage is, if your system will shut down or if something goes wrong with your system, then you will have all of those code on your drive, right? That is what also advantage of this. So you can write your code here, simple, right? Print, I'm writing welcome to Python classes, right? Simple. Okay, now I can run this. You can see this symbol, run. I will click this, it will run this, and you will see the output. Within fraction of second, you will see the output. It is connecting with server. Now it is connected. You can see the green color. Initially it will take some time, then you can see output is here. It is not like C++, Java. It will have, you can add here code in this is called cell. This is one cell, this is another cell. Each cell you can run via click here, or you can also use shortcut. You can see control plus enter, control plus enter. Let me run this, control enter. Control enter is shortcut. Another shortcut is shift enter. When you will run shift enter, it will move you to the other cell, next cell, right? So you can also add cell like this, and or you can also do shift enter, right? After doing shift enter, it will give you the next cell, right? Now this is very simple. The print statement is printing the message, right? Simple Python program is this, right? Now we need to learn lots of things there, how to create variables, what to do, what not to do, right? For that, let's move to this slide, right? Let me go slide show. I know today we spend most of the time to trying to understand the understand Python history and how it worked and its features, but don't worry, from tomorrow onwards we will be in flow, right? Google Colab, you have seen how to execute the program, you have seen. Now we need to understand how to create variables, because ultimately without variable you can't do the data analysis, right? So variable holds holds a value. The variable is created the first time you assign it a value. Or in Python, variables are references to objects. Generally what happens here, suppose you will write this, right? Suppose you will write x equals to 5, y equals to 10, right? So what happens in the memory, right? So 5 is stored here and x will hold the address or reference. Maybe the address is 100, right? So it will hold the address of this 100, right? So it will point here. So x is nothing, just a reference of this 5, right? So variables in Python are references to objects, and this 5 is an object. Everything in Python is object, right? So if you are here in case of y, so y will hold address or reference of suppose it is 200 address, its address is 200 in the memory, right? So it will hold this. So y is a reference to this object 10. That is what it means. And also I'm not defining it is int or something. I'm not defining this. It will automatically identify, right? How? I will show you that also. So variable is a place which holds a value, right? If you don't understanding this reference concept is coming from C, C++. In C we have pointers, right? Pointers and references, right? Okay, this concept of reference is coming from there. If you don't understand this, don't worry, nobody is going to ask an interview. Don't worry, you just understand this x equals to 5, this x is variable, or maybe I'm writing x is equals to India, then x is holding India object and x is a variable, and now x is a string variable, not an integer variable, right? That is what you need to understand. If you are not understanding this concept, don't worry about this, right? It is not that we understand every concept in coding. You should know how to code. If later when you start working in it, later you will realize all the things, right? So what happens when we learn anything first time, it is very difficult to digest all the things. Initially it will go very slowly, and then you will understand this, right? Now let's move to next thing, data types, right? As I told you, you don't need to define whether your x is 5 or x is 2.5. You don't need to define this, whether it is a float or integer, but Python identify its type, whether it is an integer, float, string. So in Python we have boolean value which hold true and false. Now what is the use of true and false? When you will write if else condition, then true and false will play a major role, right? Numbers means either integer like 1 and 2, float 1.1, 1.2. So integers and float value. Float means your fraction value, or you can not fraction. In Python, fraction are like this, right? Float means your decimal values, right? Okay. Strings in Python also similar to Java or C++. We have string, like I am writing a Avinash. So Avinash is a string because it is a character, it is not a value, it is not a numeric value. So it is a character, and we keep character into double quotes, right? Or we can also keep this into single quote, or we can also use a triple quotes, 3-time quotes and triple quotes, right? Avinash. We can use all 3, but mostly you use these 2. When we use this one, I will show you, don't worry about that. Apart from these data types, we also have list, tuple, dictionaries. Also set is also there, right? We will see these. Right now our focus is on these primitive data type. These are known as primitive. Primitive means these are primary data types, and these are, you can say, secondary data type, right? So this is about your data types. I will show you all the things on the code, right? Don't worry about that. Okay, let's start with the programming, right? Let me show you here, right? So the print statement, okay, yeah, you can also use here AI that can write code for you also, right? I have not tried this feature, but if you want, you can try. First, I am showing you the print function. Print is used to print any output, right? Suppose I want to write what should I write? Okay, so this is Python for analytics. Okay, this is the class. This is Python for analytics class or Python class, right? Okay, so you can write like this, and if you want, you can run this. You can run this shift enter or control enter. You can use shortcut shift enter, shift plus enter, or control enter, right? Or you can also use this to run this. Now if I talk about variable, right, if I'm writing x equals to 5, you can see this here x is your variable, but it is not showing it. How can you show this? If you press enter, you will write print x, so it will print the x, right? X value is 5, you can see here 5. You can also add here like this, add comma, you can write x colon space. When you will run this, now you will see x colon, and then you are seeing space. Here we have two space, one space we have written here, and one space after comma whatever value is, it will show one space for that. So that is why you can see here we have two space, one space, and this is your second space, right? So if you want, you can remove this also space, and it will show you x column 5. So you can also write a message with your variable value, right? Right now we have taken x equals to 5. Now similarly, let me try with some other thing, right? Suppose I am writing value of pi, right? Value of pi is 3.14, right? Print pi, sorry, print pi, right? So you can see pi is a variable which hold this value 3.14. Similarly, you can create your string, right? Suppose name and k. Okay, these variable names might be x, y, right? Or it should be relevant, right? It should be relevant, like I'm writing name, right? So name, my name is Avinash, right? So Avinash, okay, space Navlani. Okay, so this string will come into single quote or maybe into double quote, right? So you can use both. Okay, you can see I have used a single quote initially, a double quote initially, and now I'm using a single quote. Print name, right? So here we are creating variables. This is your integer variable, this is your float variable, and this is your string variable. All right, you can also create other variables, but let me show you one more thing. You can also write here message like this, name, right, colon. Now you will run this and you will see name colon, there will be one space, and then Avinash Navlani, this is a string here, right? So these are variables. Now variables are holding the value. Okay, variables are holding the value of it, right? So what other thing you can do is, yeah, I have shown you these things, right? Now if you want to check the data type, there is function called type. We have seen print, similarly there is function type. If I write x into this and I will ask the type, what it is returning? Int, because it automatically identify it is an int, right? Similarly, if I will check for, you can add the cell here by clicking on this code, right? So if you write the type pi, right? If you run this using shift enter, it will show you float. It automatically identified this. That is why Python is dynamically typed language, because on runtime it will identify what is the data type of variable at runtime. Similarly, if you try this type and check data type of name, it will be string. You can see str is short form for string, right? So this type is very useful, type, right? So here we have data types like integer, float, string, and also we can try the boolean also, right? Let me show you one boolean example, right? If I will add here one code, let me show you one boolean like flag, or maybe is student, right? There is variable name is student. It will be either true or false. Is student, right? So you can write true. You can see its color has changed. It will look like this, true. It won't work. It will give you an error. You will see the error. Name error. True is not defined. So you should take T capital RUE. Now you will run. It will run successfully. So true or false. You can also give value here false. F capital ALSE. It will run, right? If you want to print this, print is underscore student, right? Is underscore, okay. You can define variable and separate variable with underscore. You can't separate like this, space. It will give error. Is syntax invalid, because it won't identify it as a variable. So variable name, if it is lengthier name, then you can use underscore between it, right? So variable name can be separated using only underscore, not with space. So you can use like this, right? This is okay. Another thing is your variable name should be relevant, like pi name should be relevant, so that if someone is reading your code, he should be aware what it means, right? If it is, then he will understand that it is going to be a boolean, true or false, right? Okay, now you can check also, right? Now type is student, right? Sorry, s small. Bool means boolean, right? As I've shown you here. Boolean, number, string, these I have shown you. These list tuple dictionary, I will tell you about this later stage, because right now we are just starting, right? Okay, so numbers can be integer, floating point, right? Okay, that type conversion is also there, right? I think we should stop here today. Are you still there? Yes. Okay, I think we should stop there. Don't worry about these syntaxes. You can just try to use this Colab, try to open this and see how can you create a notebook. You can go to file and create a new notebook in your drive, right? So this is known as a notebook. Here each code block is known as cell, code cell. You can also add this one, this text you can also add, right? The text you can also add print function, right? Print function. You can see you can also add the text and code both. Why I am adding this text? Text will be easier to put the headings here, right? So you can identify things easily, right? Or you can also minimize this, right? 3 cells are under variables, you can see. Minimize and expand it, right? Okay, so you can also use this feature, right? Collapse this and expand this. Okay, data types I have shown you: integer, float, boolean and string right now. Now after that we also have some things like, if you see here, x is a integer, right? We have seen here. If I want to convert this into the float, then I will use float function, and just I will pass the value of x, and it will convert this into float, which is 5.0. So these are the type conversion function, float. Similarly, if you can see here, we have pi, right? Pi is a float value, right? I can convert this into integer by just putting int right here, right? So it will be now integer, only it is showing only 3. 1.14 is truncated, right? Okay, so these are the type conversion function. For example, this x, right? For example, this x is integer, right? Okay, now what I will do is I will convert this into a string. Now this x will be our string, and it has single quotes. You can see earlier it doesn't have that single quote, but now it has single quotes, right? You can see here x5, and now it has single quotes, right? So it is a string. So you can also convert your variable into float to integer, integer to float, float to string, right? Now if here I will try this int Avinash, sorry, int name, I will get error. Invalid literal with base 10. This value is not in the form of integer, so I can't convert this, right? So if you do illogical or invalid conversion, you will get the error. Invalid conversion will give you the error, right? So the type conversion, data types we have seen. I think we are already over the time. Today I am stopping here, and soon I will share you these notebooks, okay? So you can easily code, but don't worry, today you just try to open this Colab. If you will face any issue, you will let me know, right? And if you want to use Anaconda, you can also install Anaconda on Windows. How I will